From the East Coast to the West Coast, we are everywhere true crime is. We are asking for the public's help. We are searching in the woods. We are doing what it takes here on the Bullhorn Betty channels to find answers to the most alarming cases we have been watching on the news. I can tell you personally that I have traveled this entire country seeking these answers and bringing that content right here to you here on the Bullhorn Betty channels and Bullhorn Betty Crime Stories. We are happy with the work that we've done. We brought many answers to the public, and we have defied mainstream media in our pursuit of the truth in these cases. We will continue to work. We will continue to fight for these victims, and we will continue to tell their stories here on my channels. Welcome to the Bullhorn Betty brand of channels and the Coffee Club. Thank you for your love, thank you for your support, and more importantly, thank you for allowing me to bring these victims' stories to each and every one of you, advocating for each of these victims. God bless you, God bless America, and more importantly, God bless our victims. Good afternoon, everybody. I haven't been here in a little bit, so I thought I'd come, swing by and say hi. Happy Saturday, everyone. I hope you're doing amazing. Hey, Mimi, Roland, Deborah. It's nice to see you guys. It's nice to see you. So we have a little bit of information, not a whole lot. I mean, the case really hasn't really developed a whole lot. Hey, Michelle, Anthony, it's nice to see you guys coming through. It's nice to see you guys coming through. I'm Bullhorn Betty. If you guys don't know who I am, I cover true crime. I love advocating for victims, and more importantly, I love seeing the bad guys get behind bars where they belong so they can never hurt another person again. And this is one that's kind of near and dear to my heart. This is an autistic 15-year-old boy. His name is Sebastian Rogers. He, according to his mother, went to bed, and when she woke up, gone. That's what she says. Now, we have really worked very, very hard to really dissect some major statements in this. We didn't go down all these rabbit holes other people did because we stayed very focused on key pieces of critical information. And one of the places that we've identified, I know a lot of people are focusing on his overstimulating day and stuff like that. That's not really my focus with the work that I do. So my focus has been identifying what are the key factors in this case that we need to explore. And one of the very first key factors in this case that we need to explore is whether or not Sebastian could or would walk out the house willingly on his own. And so after diligent search, I've come here to the public. The public has responded in droves with a litany of videos, interviews they did, broke down, pinpoint, markers like an hour and 30 minutes and 15 seconds into this interview and this, that, and the other. And we were really able to hone in on some key information about Sebastian from Katie, Chris, and Seth. And upon my review of all of this collected information from all of these interviews, we learned that Sebastian had major issues with dirt, being dirty. He had sensory issues. He could be overstimulated and not want to go to sleep and have meltdowns. There are things that do trigger him and that do trigger episodes. So we've learned that he does have sensory issues. We learned he does not like being dirty. We learned of an ant event that has caused him from that point forward to always wear shoes, almost like breathing. If he goes outside, he wears shoes. He's very deliberate. What he does, if he does something a certain way, he does it that way every single time, you see. So he's very particular and very certain. So when we started listening to Chris and Katie, they started talking to us about how their son would never walk out of the home. Their son is not a runner. Their son usually loves being inside his room, playing with his toys and to himself. He loves playing his video games. His father has let us know that he's taught his son to keep his phone charged at all times, so when it rings, he can answer it and talk to his dad. So we were starting to learn all this stuff about Sebastian. And everything we were learning indicated that there's no way he would really willingly walk out the front door. I mean, he could, I guess, he could, if there were certain things in play, such as if he had his shoes on. If his shoes were missing, we could ascertain that he most likely walked out the door. If his switch was missing, we could most likely think that, hey, the switch is with him wherever he's at. So, again, all these things that if he were to run away or willingly walk out that door, those things were all left behind. Those are key, and it's like a woman leaving her purse, keys, and wallet behind and disappearing from her boyfriend's home. You feel me? You understand? Let me put it in a different light. We have a man, a fully grown man, and his girlfriend has disappeared, and she walked out of the house willingly and left her keys, her cell phone, and her purse behind. Do you believe that story? Now you put it in perspective like that, it's like, whoa, there ain't no way we would believe that story. There ain't no way all day long we would believe that story. So why in the world would we believe the story that Sebastian walked out of the home, let's put it in perspective, without his phone, his keys, or his purse? Now do you guys feel where I'm going with this? So that was one of the very first things that we started to identify, is that, wait a minute, how did this boy walk out of the home? Because each and every one of these parents have been telling us over and over again religiously from one interview to another interview exactly why he could not walk out of the home. And I didn't say would not. I said could not. Because he couldn't leave without putting his shoes on. And according to his father, he would have had to have been in a major emergency where something happened so quickly he was unable to get his shoes. That would be the only other reason. That's not very good or promising for anyone to hear that. So now we're kind of believing that, based upon the information that we are receiving from all the parents, that it's next to impossible for this child to have walked out the door. Now we go back and see, hey, is there anything that law enforcement says on this fact? And then we go back to an older news article and news clip and find out that Eric Craddock or law enforcement has indicated that they can't even figure out how this boy has even left this home. There's no evidence that he even walked out the home. We learned that from the searchers that had over 30-something years experience, that this boy didn't just walk, in his 30-something years of experience, they have never not had any hit at this moment, at this juncture, according to him, this one searcher, which happens to work for Sumner County. So now we're kind of getting a good idea that this child never really walked out of the house willingly. All the things that he would have willingly walked out of the house with are left behind, such as the key, wallet, and purse, you know? So now that we kind of identified that he most likely and potentially did not willingly walk out of the home, and now we know that Katie was the only person left in the home with him at the time that this happened, it's starting to be a very clear picture that something happened inside that home, and, you know, our deductive reasoning would be to tell us that it was most likely perpetrated by his mother. That's what common sense tells us when we start moving this through. So now, who would have helped Katie? Who would Katie call for help? Well, if you look into her life and her past, Naturally, you would think, does she have a best friend, a mom, a dad, a brother, somebody that she could call to help her, to assist her, to guide her? And when we find out in her past that she really has kind of abandoned well, there was some let me explain it like this. There were some child things that went on in her life, and it appears that based upon those child traumas in her adulthood, she broke off all contact and communication that was apparent to most people that knew her. That's probably the best way I can explain it. So she didn't really have anyone to call. That's what I'm saying. Except who? Her husband. And it just so happens that they stayed on the phone for 3 solid hours. 3 hours. And so many people, they've tried to imply that this is something normal and customary that they do. And while they may talk to each other throughout the day, when have they had another 3-hour conversation in their past? That is my question. Where's this 3-hour conversation? And so this is kind of where we're going to be kickstarting our live off today. Again, thank you for being here. For those that are just coming in, we're covering the case of Sebastian Rogers. Sebastian is a 15-year-old autistic boy that disappeared from his home, and we've been breaking down the case the best that we can with the factual information that we have available in our possession, our custody, and our control. Before we get started, I have a beautiful lady that's on with me on YouTube. She's one of the people that coined us the coffee beans. You know, she loves her little coffee beans. So now all of my people in my chat are my little coffee beans in the morning for our coffee club, right? And so she's been a true crimey for a while. So this is one of the cases that she sent me to advocate for this beautiful girl that went missing. I just wanted to read this, and then I'll try to put her face up here a little closer so you guys can get a better picture of her. But her name is Penelope Wise, and she's missing from Cedar Springs, Michigan. She was last seen on May 31st, 2024, 5 foot, 120 pounds, so about the same structure as Sebastian Rogers. She left the house on May 31st around 6 p.m. Her shirt was later found at Mortley Park. There was some possible sighting Saturday night headed southbound on Sumner, mile marker 1213 in, it looks like Rockford, Michigan. It looks like Rockford, but it might be Rockford or Bockford. I can't tell with the print. Let me see if I can pull this up a little bit. There you go. If you guys can see her, there she is. We're advocating for her. Again, Penelope Wise, right there. So if you guys ever have any, we're a channel that advocates for victims and missing people. So if you ever have one, I don't ever mind taking a few moments to advocate for a child, especially any child that's missing in our country. It's utmost important. You know, we all know that our little ones are under attack, you know, and being preyed upon, and it's a much different environment than many of us grew up in. And so it gets a little scary, to be honest with you. It gets a little scary. So here's, I got my stuff all out of order because somebody responded when they were in order. So here is one of our subscribers on YouTube, and they just recently started following me. I don't really have their permission. I don't think I have their permission. I don't see where I got permission to use their name, so I'll just read their statement here. I have a theory that nobody seems to have thought of. What if the 3-hour call was to allow Katie to leave the house for 3 hours and leave her phone at home? I think it's plausible because of her falling asleep on the phone would be an excuse as to why her phone stayed in one place in the house if LE checked to see if she was walking around. I hope this makes sense. Anyways, just something that popped into my head and makes more sense than Chris driving back. Completely up to you, but you can use my name if you use this. Oh, I can use her name. So Christine, thank you so very much for sending that to me. Yes, we did start looking at some things. We did start flipping some things around on this case related to that. We surely did. So this 3-hour conversation has been a very jagged pill for me to swallow. Over time of watching Chris on interviews and stuff like that, and him kind of taking over the conversation and him being able to constantly speak, could he have the lungs for a 3-hour conversation? Yeah, I believe they can. And listen to this. We also had a beautiful gal that sent me some information. I did it on my live yesterday, and I didn't do a live in the afternoon on TikTok, so I never drove you over there. But yesterday, a lady, I think it was my morning live, maybe. We went through it, and I got to tell you, you can answer a cell phone without even being there. You can set your cell phone to answer automatically. So if your phone rings more than 2 seconds or 5 seconds or 30 seconds, you can set this. Or even 10 seconds, you can set this. And it'll automatically pick up. So even if Katie needed to call and she needed some time, she could literally have waited until Chris was in town, made the phone call to his phone in Memphis. It would have automatically picked up, and she could have just sat her phone down and walked out of the house. Now they have a conversation. Chris was never even in Memphis when the phone call was made. I about fell over. And you can set your iPhone up to do that. Yours right now, right here. You need to go over and check it out. It was a little alarming to me. It was interesting. It's definitely a perspective we can look at and analyze, what could happen. And I keep wondering, because we heard the rumors about Kathy Bowersox being at that store, the Worsham store near the school that morning. And while people want to say that that's BS, there's been enough people that have come forward that have made the statement that they thought they saw her. I don't know whether it was her. I personally wasn't there. I can't tell you whether it was her or not. It's definitely sus. But could that have been Chris being on the phone with her, telling her what to do, and her laying her phone down and going, and again, I have said that I thought that over at that construction site, that bright light that came on and went off, people thought they were floodlights. I honestly believe they were car lights. They were the headlights of a vehicle letting somebody know that they were there and it's time to come on. Think about it. You guys have had that experience where you were creeping, probably in your younger years, where you were creeping and you were probably doing something you weren't supposed to do, or sneaking a friend out of the house, and you roll up and you turn your lights on and you your lights, right? Your lights to let your friend know, hey, come on, babe, let's go. So why not? So that was another critical piece of information that we have to look at. And it's that not just the 3-hour conversation. We need to really be looking at what transpired from 9 p.m. the night before to 7 a.m. the day he was reported missing. That is our window of where we, as a true crime genre, need to be. That's the only place we need to be, because that's the entire case. Okay? The entire case starts at 9 p.m. and ends at about 6 o'clock in the morning. That's the entire case. But there were some things that happened after 6 a.m. and why I extended it an hour to 7, because by 7 a.m., law enforcement was on their front door. So from 7 a.m. on, we definitely know that whatever's happened has been thoroughly recorded. So I'm not worried about after 7. We will look at that, but I'm not worried about what happened after 7. That's where I live. 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. Anything in that area is where this channel is going to be living. Okay? So walking out the door, this 3-hour conversation about Katie, and did she leave? Because in these interviews, she had to be a parent. In that interview, that 6-minute Dutch's interview from March 22nd, there were 6 minutes we pulled from. And she used some major convincing language. She was like, well, and this is how it went. Dutch's basically had a conversation with them before they had their original interview in March. March 3rd was their first interview with Dutch's. And then they stated in there that Katie was falling asleep on the couch at 10, but Sebastian had left at 9, or had went to bed at 9 p.m. And then she woke up off the couch a short while later and was right around midnight and went to bed at midnight. Chris pipes in after that. Again, this is the March 3rd Dutch's interview. Pipes in right after she makes that statement and says, I need to be crystal clear and fully transparent. We had a significant phone call. And that phone call, Katie called me at 9:43 to 9, or between 9, she said 9:43 or 9:46. He couldn't remember. One of them, either, whatever. 9:33 or 9:33 or 9:30. Oh, don't see 9:43 or 9:46. That's what he said. I don't weird numbers, but that's what he said. And that they were on the phone for a significant amount of time, and law enforcement has already confirmed that. He wanted to make sure that we knew that law enforcement had already confirmed that him and his wife had this significant phone call at 9:43. And this was on the heels of her just saying that she was falling asleep on the couch at 10. So she really picks up the phone and calls her husband. And then as soon as she's on the phone with her husband, within 12 minutes, she's like, within 13 minutes, right? Doesn't make sense. And then she stays on the phone with her like this. Honey. Oh, you need to put the dogs away and go to bed. Oh, gee, thanks, honey. Thank you. What time is it? Oh, it's midnight. Make sure you're in bed by midnight. Oh, don't forget. Go to sleep by midnight, too. You need to be asleep by midnight. You got it? Midnight. Got it? Midnight. Bed? Get it? Midnight. So go to bed. Bed, midnight. You get it? That's what you need to say. All right. Talk to you later, babe. Midnight. Bed, midnight, sleep. And then she follows it up, well, and I went to sleep, obviously. Like, that was convincing language. So they needed to tell us in that 3-hour conversation that she was basically asleep on the couch for the entire conversation. And when she woke up, she went directly to bed and went directly to sleep. That is what they need us to believe. And if they need us to believe that so bad, there's a reason why they need us to believe that. They didn't just tell their story. No, they're trying to convince us it is true. And the only time you work this hard to convince somebody that it's true when it doesn't make sense is because it's most likely exactly the opposite of what you did. So if they're convincing us that she was in bed and asleep, then it's most likely that she was not in bed and she was not asleep. So now we've opened up a window of opportunity for Katie. Now, we haven't gotten to Chris. We don't know where Chris is yet, right? We just know that there's a phone call between them. He could still be in Memphis, just like the person that emailed. She could have done it. What if? What if Katie concocted all this herself and carried it out all herself? She's a big girl. She's in the Navy. She's a technology communications expert. Telecommunications expert. Pretty smart woman. Seems like she can handle her own. If you look at her arms and look at her body language, she looks like she can handle her own. So, could she have concocted all of this herself? Yeah, she could have. Absolutely. She has the ability. She has the muscle. She has the wherewithal. But if she wanted to do this all by herself, then why'd she call her husband? So that brings us back to this 3-hour conversation and what it all means. I really don't know. But if I had to guess, this is not one to stay up. If I had to guess, I would have to think that Katie I don't know. I truly believe that Katie and Chris got on the phone, and I think Chris came back. I don't see Chris not coming back that night. I don't see Chris not coming back that night. You know? But I think things happened a lot different than we think. And somebody even sent me a message saying, you know, maybe what Chris did, and I didn't think about this because I just think about the camper. Maybe Chris knew that he needed to get Sebastian out of there and just took Sebastian to a site and left him there until he could come back. And that's what the whole RV thing, that maybe he never took Sebastian back to his RV. It was just he took him and dropped him in an area on his way back. And then when he had an opportunity to go back and make sure that everything was taken care of, that 17 hours, he took care of business. So maybe Sebastian never went back to the camper. Maybe Sebastian was just put in a spot that Chris knew was safe and wouldn't be looked at. I hear CP does have a brother. We definitely know he has uncle. He's got Uncle D, Big D. And I've looked into him, and he looks like he's a well-to-do construction guy. I see that man potentially throwing money at his nephew, but I don't see him getting his hands dirty. He doesn't seem like the kind. I mean, he's a construction guy. Construction guys can get their hands a little dirty, but he's so far up there, up on the food chain with his lifestyle. I don't see him risking his lifestyle for the likes of his nephew. I'm sorry, I just don't. BHB, don't forget she was reading for school. Yeah, while she's sleeping on the couch. But the reading for school I don't think came in until a little later, because the original statement was she was on the couch falling asleep, and her husband had to wake her up at almost, whatever, for those... They don't start work until 7. That's what they said. And listen to this, there are some rumors out there that Christopher may have been sleeping inside there. I don't know. I'm still working on developing that. I'm reaching out to one of his coworkers right now, because one of his coworkers said that he ran him off the job site basically that morning. So I'm trying to find out, because another person that has reached out to me that worked with him was saying something about him being sleeping. He was in you know what I'm saying? So we'll see where that goes. This does sound really fishy. And why was he in his crane so damn early? He doesn't normally show up that early. He was on the job site at 5:30 a.m. and he was run off because of his tube. Not at 5:30. I don't know who told you that. So how it worked. So just to clarify, not that you're wrong. I just think you heard wrong. So how it all worked is that apparently, according to his foreman, he was supposed to be, working at 7. However, he was on the job at 5:15. He apparently got this call, they called into law enforcement at 6:33, and he tried to tell us that he was actually in the crane and operating the crane when they called law enforcement. It doesn't sound like that was true, because it doesn't sound like his crane was in operation until 7 a.m. So if you don't like it, you're more than welcome to leave. You don't have to be here, but since you can't handle yourself, I'll go ahead and block you, okay? There you go. So anybody that comes in here, there's only one rule of my chat: don't be a dick. I don't need moderators here. I really don't care what you do on my channel, but you will be respectful of me and the people in my chat. And if you can't do that, I will remove you. I have a no tolerance policy. I will do as I darn well please, and if you don't like it, it's your responsibility to not tune in. Plain and simple. We're going to bring adulting back to adults, and if you can't do it, I'll remove you. So it's just that simple. So we have a lot of questions related to Christopher Proudfoot and his odd behaviors that next day. So the odd behaviors of him that next day, were, him arriving at work ridiculously early. What was he doing, and why was he in the crane so early? It, yeah, bring adulting back to adults. Yes, exactly. Because most of the people that watch this stuff are adults. Everybody pretty much is over the age 18. Okay, it's pretty darn bad that I have less problems with the 18-year-olds and more problems with the 50 and above year olds. But it is what it is. Yeah, I would just say that there's a lot of angry women out there, and you need to go find Jesus and find some love in your heart. You women over 50 are entirely too angry. I don't want you guys going, having your final days that damn angry with a stick stuck up so far up your butt that you just spew venom everywhere you go. That's got to be a miserable life. You should find some things to make you happy. That's all I'm saying. So did Katie leave? We saw 2 light sources out in the back of the house. We saw 2 light sources. Could it have been Katie? Maybe. Could it have been Chris? Maybe. Could it have been somebody helping him? Maybe. It could have been a number of people. So the 3-hour phone call, did Katie leave? I think she did. And the reason why I think she did is because she's been trying to convince us so much that she was home in bed and asleep in her bed. Yet the light sources are right outside her freaking window. Her bedroom window. Not Sebastian's. Hers. Can she explain to me why she's got all this movement out? And it just so happens to coincide with the night that this one night that she puts the dogs in the cages instead of letting them sleep with her. And it just so happens to be the one night that her son was dressed head to toe in all black. Black pants down to his ankles, black long sleeve shirt covering his wrists. Barely anything that could be barely noticeable, on a security ring camera, right? But Chris said something that was a little bizarre about this Ring doorbell camera. It's going to take me a minute because it was part of my yesterday's show, so just give me a minute and we're going to get to it. Where is that audio? I think it was Evil Exist. I think they got a clip on Evil Exist, and it was about, I love Evil Exist. If you guys are over on YouTube, go hit up Evil Exist. I've been a huge fan and a huge follower of Evil Exists since I've been on the streets because they keep it real. They keep it to the facts, in my opinion. Is this the one? Oh, maybe it's this one.
Street. Yeah. Whoa. Okay, hold on. I need you to listen to that section of that clip one more time. Roll that again, please.
And not only that, but if somebody had been by the front door, punched in the code, believe it or not, no, it's not super clear, but you would have seen a shadow or a figure.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's what I would think.
And based on, something would have been visible because one of the lights is still visible from that Ring camera from across the street.
Yeah.
Oh.
Let's break this down. Chris said, quote, if...
So we never got any shadowy figure from the Ring doorbell across the street about Sebastian walking out of the front door? Man, isn't that funny? So somebody walking up to their door any other night would have a little shadowy figure on it. But this particular night that Sebastian walked out, it was so dark it didn't pick up anything. That's what Chris and Katie want us to believe. But when they're questioned a different way, related to somebody else trying to get into their home, it's funny how their story about this front door and how they know no abductor got in. Because again, they can't have that abductor theory, can they? Why? Because it brings the criminal investigation, doesn't it? It brings that forensic team right to their front door. Not just the forensic team. The best this country has, the FBI and the FBI expert labs across this country. That's what it brought. That's why this man didn't need it to be an abduction. That's why they have to convince you that this boy walked out of the house. Because it's funny, it's too dark to see Sebastian. The cameras would never pick up Sebastian because it's so dark. But God forbid somebody walks in that house. All of a sudden, these damn cameras start working from across the street and you can see hazy images. But just not with Sebastian. Maybe because he was wearing all that black from head to toe. Did he have a black bag over his head too? I'm just curious. I'm just curious because my level of BS is up to here with Chris and Katie and their many stories and lies. Let's listen to this again for all the people coming in. When we talk about, remember, when everybody sits there and says that Sebastian Rogers walked out the door, he had to have walked out the door. It was too dark. It was too late at night. They can't see him walk out that door. They can't see him. None of the cameras would have picked him up because it's too dark. It's too dark. Okay, well, what if somebody came in your house? Let's listen to what Chris has to say if somebody was coming into his house. I mean, we know that it was entirely too dark with his son going out the house. Right? Let's see what he says about somebody coming in.
And not only that, but if somebody had been by the front door, punched in the code, believe it or not, no, it's not super clear, but you would have seen a shadow or a figure.
Wow!
Yeah, that's what I would think.
And based on, something would have been visible because one of the lights is still visible from that Ring camera from across the street.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Do I have that busted one? Wow. What in the you know what? Huh. So they can see somebody coming in, they just can't see your son going out. I find that awfully funny. So again, our focus here on the Bullhorn Betty channel is from 9 p.m. on February 25th to 7 a.m. on February 26th. That's where our channel lives, okay? Because that's the only time that matters. That's the only time that matters. Anybody going outside of that and going back 20 years, oh my God, 15 years. Can you believe this? I want to bring this up. There's several things I want to address with TikTok before the rumor mills start going crazy. People are getting cease and desist letters. Okay, first and foremost, I talk to Tony here and there. I talk to him in a very professional manner. I talk to him about the case of Sebastian Rogers, specifically about Sebastian Rogers. I send him over any information that I think might help him, their investigation, Seth, or anything that's going to help bring this boy right here home. That is my level of conversation with him and my focus of any conversation that I have. I have not advised these people in any legal capacity or manner. Clearly, Seth has an attorney. Seth has an attorney's name on the top of that letter. He has an attorney. Why would he be coming to Bullhorn Betty for legal advice? That is so stupid that is one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. But you know what? There are enough idiots on social media that will believe that nonsense. So I want to be very clear, crystal clear to everybody out here. And when I say crystal clear, it's not being followed up by a lie. I'm Bullhorn Betty. If I'm coming after you, you know I'm coming after you. I don't do the sneaky crap behind the back, all this other stuff that's going on. If I have something to say, I use this more than anything, and I use this. That's how I get my message across. So for all the people that are trying to say that I'm underhanded or I do this or I do that, you're full of it. And I would beg for you to produce the receipts because I know you got none because there's none to have. So all the people that want to be out there running their gator, let me tell you, you're full of shit. And if I wanted to, oh yeah, I would definitely advise somebody of something. And I definitely would let you know what I advise them. And trust me, I would sue all these MFers. They wouldn't just get a cease and desist because, you know what? He's trying to bar them from, verbally saying nasty things about him. And yes, because of what they said about him, he doesn't want them talking about his son at all. They disgraced him and they disgraced his son. So they lost their right. I agree with that. Just because I agree with that doesn't mean I advised it. Quite frankly, I think he shouldn't even bother with it. If you want to know what I would have advised him, this is what I would have advised him. I wouldn't even worry about the defamation. I would have been filing suit for intentional infliction of emotional distress personally. That's the one that gets you in the butt. That's the one that always comes up and bites you. Okay? Because you're doing intentional shit that's hurting somebody. And you're doing it with malice. So that is the one that's absolutely 100% provable. I wouldn't even have done this. This cease and desist was just saying, hey, stop. Just stop. Right? I don't think any man cares about somebody advocating for the son, but the shit that they were putting out wasn't avocation. It was horse shit and garbage. So do I support and agree with his move to do this? I absolutely do. And you know what the narrative is being driven? Oh, he doesn't want to find his son. No, he doesn't want you cocksuckers helping him find his son. You've done enough damage. Let me put it clear. Let me put it out just like that. Cocksuckers, you've done enough. Move over. Move over. So I'm over it. I'm over it. And the lies that they want to peddle, look, you can come to me and ask me. I'll tell you straight up. I got no reason to lie. If I'm coming after somebody, I'm coming after them with my name. I'm definitely not going to be hiding behind some other victim's father to do so. I think I got pretty big brass balls enough to handle my own. Just saying. Just saying. But that has come out. They're trying to say that they're trying to maneuver it and drive the narrative that he doesn't want to find his son because he doesn't want them talking about his son. And as a matter of fact, I think they're all freaking disgusting. I wouldn't want them seeing my name out of their mouth. Like, I feel like I had just been, awed by them with their nastiness. I don't want them around me. I don't want them looking at me. I don't want anything to do with them. I think they're a hot mess express. I think JLR is a piece of shit. And I pray to God, if anything, he's the head of the snake. If you want my truth, he's the head of the snake. So they do whatever they need to do. I stay out of it. It's not my monkey, not my circus. They do what they're doing. They've got their own attorneys. I'm doing what I'm doing because I'm sick of the stuff that I'm seeing here on the social media platforms, predominantly on YouTube where I reside, the majority of the time. So that's kind of that. And then what is the other thing that is, I think it's that the cease and desist. I think that's what they're driving the bus with now. I really don't care. You either advocate for this boy or move over. His father did nothing. At this point, they're having a pissing contest with a father, a broken man, all because they've got hurt feelings and they think that they can intentionally and willfully destroy this man because of their hurt feelings, and they cannot. It is unlawful. And people are also saying, oh, well, this is a divorce attorney. Well, let me just clarify something for everybody here. An attorney is an attorney. Okay? That attorney can take somebody to court, whether they do family law or not. That is just their primary practice. That's just their specialty. They're still an attorney, dum-dums. They can still bring action. They still have access and know how to follow the law and know how to read the statutes. Dum-dums. Jesus. Some of y'all people. I swear, you guys say some of the stupidest shit, and you wonder why we sit and point and laugh. Not to be rude and offensive, but seriously. Like, you guys, there's some people that are dumber than a box of rocks, and I'm sorry. If you're that dumb, you deserve to be called dumber than a box of rocks. Go back to school. Get some damn education. I don't know what to do. But in a world where there's Google and all this internet stuff, ignorance is a choice. Ignorance is a damn choice. You could literally go on a computer and diagnose what ailments you got for the love of Christ. Ignorance is a choice in 2024. So before you guys open your mouth, just take 5 minutes and do your own damn research before you look stupid. Because creators like me, I have no problem calling people out personally, pointing them out, bringing them up on a screen and saying, this is a freaking idiot for all the world to see. No problem whatsoever. Katie should be the star of this show, and these idiots are trying to make it Seth. Katie is the star of this Hot Mess Express. This is the star of this Hot Mess Express, and Chris Proudfoot is the clown driving the freaking car. And Mr. Proudfoot and Mrs. Proudfoot have done squat, and I mean squat, to locate this boy right here. Finally, after 3 months, we're hearing they may potentially, allegedly, finally put $500 whole dollars toward billboards. People that live in a almost $700,000 home. He personally drives a $50,000 to $60,000, maybe more, depending on what bells and whistles are in his pickup truck. And that Montana hanging off the ass end of that $50,000 truck is probably another $50,000. So just in those two pieces, you got $100. You got a bill. Well, what they have on Zillow and what the actual market price of a house is different. So their house would probably be right about $799, I would think, in today's market. I could be wrong. I didn't do a BPO or anything like that on it. I just kind of looked at the comps in the area, and it does that. Yes, I used to be in real estate as well. And then we've got, on top of that, Katie's Infinity. Her 2000, I looked it up, it was, okay, that's pretty good. A 2017 Infinity SUV, another 24, 25, and it might even be higher than that, depending on, again, the bells and whistles in that particular vehicle. And it took them 3 months to literally pony up $500 to even help. That is some bullshit. That's what Bullhorn Betty calls bullshit. Okay? For all my Christian folks, I'll get back right. Tomorrow's church day, and I'm usually good for a couple days. I'm back in my potty mouth. I try. Some days I just don't. No, I don't. I just pray my preacher's not watching that day. I won't lie. Oh, good gracious. Okay, here we go.
Millionaires or something, like we've got this money growing off trees, which, by the way, it'd be great if we did, because I guarantee we wouldn't need anybody's help, because he'd have been home by now. Like we're millionaires or something, like we've got this money growing off trees, which, by the way, it'd be great if we did, because I guarantee we wouldn't need anybody's help, because he'd have been home by now. Like we're...
So, there you have it. They live, and I had said this from one of the beginning statements, that I felt that like they were living well above their means. And I still believe that they are really living well above their means. Katie is the breadwinner, but do I think they're that broke? No, I don't. They've been living at a campground that costs them like an additional $500 or $600 a month. So clearly, this entire time, that would have been, if they took that money that they just spent in the campgrounds and applied it to Sebastian's case, that would have been $1,500 that they could have put in a cash fund for a reward. Cold hard cash. They've never helped raise the reward fund. They're doing stupid shit like putting these blips up on billboards. Are they good? Yeah. Okay. But, at the end of the day, would I rather have, 1,000 flyers in the community he disappeared from? Or would I want billboards in Florida down the road from Bullhorn Betty with this boy's face on it. Because right now you're telling us he's not abducted. So why do you have signs here in Florida going for him? If he's not abducted, how the hell did he get to Florida? It's a waste of time and money. It's a feel-good project. Okay? It's a feel-good project. It's to make everybody feel good. It's not doing shit. You know what's doing shit? It's taking all that money and getting resources out there to search those grounds in and around where he disappeared from. Just saying. That would probably be a heck of a lot more impactful than an 8-second blip here in Florida, in Orlando, Florida, for a kid that wasn't abducted. So there is that. I don't know what you guys think, but I think there's a lot going on here. I think that we are picking this apart little by slow. I think we have confirmed and absolutely identified that there is no way that Sebastian willingly walked out of this home. Therefore, we have to look at that. And what is an indicator of when something happened? When did shit hit the fan? The answer is, when did she call her husband? I think we have identified the time when something happened. At that moment, when whatever happened to Sebastian happened. And if you recall, Chris said she called him at 9:43 or 9:46. Is my belief at that moment, whatever happened, happened. So now we need to piece it together from that point forward. Where was Katie and where was Chris? They are absolutely trying to convince us Katie was at home, in bed, and in sleep at midnight. Not after, not around midnight. They need us to believe she was in bed and asleep at midnight. At midnight. Yeah, Nancy, that thud I don't believe, because that thud was introduced too far out. That thud was not introduced until Chronicles of Olivia's interview 22 days. 22 days after Sebastian was reported missing from his home. Nobody heard of a thud for 22 days. So there's a lot to think about. What I am going to ask you guys is, if you are interviews, if you guys see interviews, hear interviews, if you know inconsistencies, specific inconsistencies, send those to me. Send me the receipts if you'd like. I'd like just an idea. If I use all of this to build and to help build our case. So you guys are really part of this case building project. There's no way I could do all this work alone. You guys are very, very, very helpful, and I'm able to put pieces together. And the perspectives, I love the perspectives. Even if I don't agree with your perspective, I love hearing it because it gives me ideas. There have been so many times that I didn't agree with an entire, somebody's entire theory or perspective, even though I read it because I knew somebody would agree with it. But do you know how many times they've enlightened me on other key factors that I didn't think about? You see what I'm saying? So it really is education for me. It really is giving me the other side of things. There are, I just been very thankful and very, very appreciative of it because it's really helped us. We've been able to get it out, and it's been able to get out further and farther, and other people are being able to see it because it's all about keeping some of this stuff, back to where it needs to be. Sebastian focus and on the facts. I've always believed in theory and speculation is always really good. It really hones in on certain things, but I always like those theories and speculations to be, saturated in fact, not built on, a what if or a lie, but to be built on fact. What does this fact mean? And can we make it fit into a theory? There's only so many things that could have happened to this young child. And Chris and Katie eliminated all of them except them early on. Well, them and walking out. They just wanted him to walk out and to have disappeared. They didn't expect this to get as big as it did. They didn't expect the true crime genre. but we do this all the time. We pick this stuff apart, and we have the best of the best out here. We have some of the best web sleuths on social media. We have some of the best analysis on social media. We have the best deceptive detectives, body language experts. We have a whole host of people that we pull all of this information from that help us. And these are the best of the best. Yeah, they're retired. But you know what? They have the service and the expertise. I always like Jennifer Coffindaffer. Holy smokes, I love watching her. I love hearing her perspective. Is she 100% right? No. She's giving us the guide. This is what most likely would be happening. There's always outliers out there. There's always things that don't bode with what normally happens. So we try to listen, we try to open our ears, and we try to learn. And so that's where I'm at. And I try to learn from the best in the field. I love Chris McDonough. I love, there's just a lot of people that I really do highly respect their commentary and how they explain it. It's definitely education. I love learning. One thing I have always been taught is you never stop learning. Never, ever, ever stop learning. Always keep your eyes open. Always be willing to learn something new. Always be willing to hear. Never be closed-minded. Always be open-minded. A lot of people accuse me of being closed-minded. I'm not. I'm very open-minded. But when I know, I know. So I definitely am that way. When I know, it's going to take an act of Congress to change my position. You're going to have to come with some major receipts when I know. I ain't budging. Like I know. And I'm sorry. I'm getting to the point where I know this boy did not walk out of this house. So now it's time to start talking about how this boy left. He didn't walk out. Chris and Katie, something happened. Something happened. What? I have an idea. I have a very, very, very good idea of what may have transpired. But again, we still need more information for that to develop. So we're still on this, guys. Again, our focus for this channel, all of my channels, is 9 p.m. February 25th to 7 a.m. on February 26th. Anything in and around, any information in those markers, I want to hear. I want to know. If you like typing it out, type it out. If you like clipping the video and sending me the video, I don't care what you do. But those are the areas that we're going to be living in. This is the case. This window is the entire case. If we can break this window down, we'll have a clear understanding of what happened. We're building. We're still at ground, we're above ground zero right now. We still have a long ways to go. But we are fact checking everything, and I don't see the story we are told about Sebastian walking out holding a whole lot of water at this moment. So that's where we're at. Anyways, guys, if you'd like to reach out to me, don't forget my email is bullhornbetty@gmail.com. It's pretty easy. Bullhornbetty, which is me, @gmail.com. I also we have several shirts that Sonia, our Sonia on our Facebook group. You can reach out to Sonia. You can reach out to Sonia on my YouTube channel. Any place you can reach out to her. This is our No Justice, No Peace shirt. She designs them and sells them. If you'd like your No Justice, No Peace shirt, please go over there and get that from her. She also has Team Foul Play. I love this shirt. This shirt I go out in all the time. But that Team Foul Play shirt, I have to be honest with you, that is the one that I think everybody should be wearing in honor of this case right here, is the Team Foul Play. Because let me tell you, this case stinks to high heaven. It stinks to high heaven. Anyways, guys, go rock it out with your coffee beans out. I will be back later this evening to finalize our Saturday and to remind you tomorrow we have church for anybody that would like to come to church with us. We always put our hands out and want to bring anybody that would like to come to church with us. We do have an enjoyable time there. It's a great time to praise God and to hang out with the coffee club. So hopefully you guys join in. But if not, we still pray, and we pray a lot for this boy. And so if you'd like to join us in prayer tomorrow for Sebastian Rogers, I'd greatly appreciate it. All right, guys, God bless. Until next time, we'll see you soon.